But one thing that I once was talking to Sherry about is how there's so many cross-cultural differences in the way that you experience certain events in your life.
Mm-hmm.
One being menopause. I don't remember my mom ever telling me about this. And I talked to, and you know what? She never told me about most things that happen with a female body.
Right.
It was as if it was shameful to be talking about it or very awkward or uncomfortable. And the fact that now it's out in the open, it's really helpful to me. And I wonder if we were to take a survey of like South American women or women from the Far East or Middle East, what is their take on midlife? To me,
That's such a good question.
it's
Such a good
fascinating.
question. Yeah. Especially with what's going on in the world right now. It's a fantastic question. We'll have to answer that on the show, Angela.
That's like my wish list for that because when I was in India many years back, I could see that they look at midlife as such a natural part of one's growth that's when you actually it's mandatory that you do self-reflection. That's part
Mm-hmm.
of their culture. That you're not supposed to look or be like a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old. You're supposed to be your age because your age will bring wisdom and many other experiences that a 20 or 30-year-old won't get. And I felt like, oh, that's a really interesting way of looking at it. And why don't we have that more in the Western kind of culture? But I
You know,
wonder how are women's reactions to menopause or
yeah,
sex
I it
drive?
makes me think about, I had a listener DM me and she's Persian and she said, I'm so happy I found your podcast because after I had children and they got a little bit older, I felt like within my culture, like my life was over.
You're right.
Like my contribution to the family and the world was kind of done because my kids were of a certain age and like sort of what good am I now? And it made me think like, wow, like I wonder like how much of that crosses various cultures or if it's particularly that culture. I mean, you could obviously comment on that.
Oh, it's definitely part of Persian culture, but I think most traditional cultures would feel that way because most of the weight of their identity is based on homemaking and building a family, which is extremely important. I don't I don't minimize it because it's one of the most important things we all can do if we choose to do it.
Right.
But we never take the step to go the next level and say, okay, who am I without the family? Or who am I as a 50-year-old? Who am I as a 60-year-old? Why do we feel like 70-year-old women are, I even forget about the Persian culture, that through doing all the topic curations in Visionary Women, I've heard people say, well, she's an older person. And I'm like, that's ageism. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why can't an older person be thought of? She's an amazing person that has this memory bank of experiences, like, Gloria Steinem, right? She's an icon.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean we're only even going to only live on their old experiences that they've already created. They're still capable of creating new experience, and I think that that is such an important part of midlife is that so many women are like, "Oh, it's midlife. I'm just going to give up. It's done. It's over. I'm not sexy anymore. I'm not needed in my with by my kids anymore." But I mean, if you look at the research, like people are living so much longer that like our menopause years are gonna be long, and postmenopause years are gonna be longer than the years prior to that.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. And I'm thinking, Sarah, like if we have another 50 years ahead of us,
Yeah.
that's going to be productive. I mean, how do we untap that kind of energy and disassociate like what we want to do in life with our age? Like I think
Totally.
that age thing, people going up against 60, going up against, by the way, I say that when I was 39, you're going to laugh. I was so the age 39, I thought, oh my God, 40. That means like you're
Old.
old. And that morning I woke up and I was supposed to meet my friend. And I was just like, I don't know why I was so nervous. I had a shot of tequila before going to lunch and I went and listening. I had a shot of tequila. I couldn't stand today. Funny enough, my 40, when I turned 40, it was okay. 50 has been okay, but I can feel myself. Like I'm working with myself to kind of say, don't go with the age. I mean, just do who you are, be you,
Yeah.
and keep going through life and just figure things out. And it's very hard. I think I see a lot of my girlfriends having that problem as well.
It's sort of like the same reason I don't look at the scale.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if I look at the scale, then I always like sort of have this number. It's sort of like age. You don't want to be sort of ticking off years because you look amazing, you feel amazing, you're doing so many things and you have such a sort of vitality of life. And I think part of this journey for me and for this podcast has been like, let's unleash
Yeah.
midlife.